Guys, my name is Angela. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm excited to share about all the courses I've took during my third year in University of Toronto, Mississauga, and my honest experiences and tips going through all of them. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. For the first semester, I took 4 CS courses: CSC 347, CSC 369, CSC 373, CSC 384. And I also took one stats course, which is STA 258. So the first course, CSC 347, which is Introduction to Information Security. Class, you will learn a lot about the different aspects of information security and also having hands-on experiences working through with virtual machines to exploit different kinds of security vulnerabilities. So it covers four major aspects of information security: software security, which examples of software security would be buffer overruns, SQL injections. There's security that deals with users' permissions on files. And there's also network security, which relates to network attacks and nets and also firewalls. And you would also learn about cryptography. What are some of the common decryption encryption algorithms that are out there? And one of the really interesting algorithm that I learned is the different human key exchange algorithm, right? Like how data are being exchanged publicly between two people, but the shared secrets of the two between the two people are not being able to exposed. So I've linked the different human key exchange algorithm down in the channel below if you're interested in looking into it. So in terms of like more breakdown of the course, there are four major assignments. The first three assignments is worth 19%. The last assignment's worth 4%. And then there is a lab quiz worth 5%, term test worth 15%, and also a lab grade that's worth 4%, and a skill building activity that's worth 4%, I believe. I'm not so sure, but it's like relatively small portion of your grade. And the skill building is really easy. You really just have to walk up to the professor and show him that, hey, I have the virtual machine running on my laptop. So it's like super easy points. I think the best thing about this class in terms of mark breakdown is that there is no final exam. So I think that definitely reduces the stress at the end of the semester. But what I would say though is that the assignments are relatively hard and tough to work. Just a note that the assignments you work in the groups of 2 to 3, so make sure you choose wisely of your partners. I think having good partners for assignments is super, super important, right? To keep each other accountable. So compared to some of the CS classes, I think the workload wise, definitely on the slightly heavier side, even though there's no final exam, just because the assignments are super, super time consuming. Expect that you will be breaking a lot of virtual machines. But I would say though, even though the assignments are very, very time consuming, I think that this class is definitely on the top of my list for recommending to CS students, just because of I think that knowing what security vulnerabilities that they're out there and that hands-on experiences being able to work with virtual machines is something that is very, very valuable. And you might use it in your future internships or co-ops. So it's definitely a really great course to take. That I want to talk about is CSC 369, operating systems. I've been hearing this definition 1,000 times in this class. So operating systems is a software layer that is between the hardware layer and the user application layer that allows the proper use of software and hardware resources and controls the execution of the programs. It is also responsible for memory management and process management. So in this class, you would explore topics such as processes, which I think it's a bit of a repeat from CSC 209, synchronization, system calls, file systems, and memory management. There are four major assignments that you will be working through, and you are allowed to have a partner to be paired up with. An assignment I work on was about synchronization, how to use mean tests to protect your resources and synchronize between the different threats. I've also worked on another assignment was about eviction policy. So there are different types of eviction policy, such as the first in, first out eviction policy, the ARC eviction policy, and also clock eviction policy. I think in that assignment, we not only get to have that hands-on experiences working through C programming languages to implement those different kind of eviction policy, but we also have like a little writing that we have to do to kind of coming up with situation of under what kind of circumstance in one eviction policy would be actually better than the over the other eviction policy. So I think working through the assignments was definitely a very interesting, and the best part about this course, it really allows me to dive deeper into operating systems and further my understanding about what each of those topics are really about. Course breakdown, 40% of the grade come from the assignments. So they kind of like distributed the weights a little kind of weird. So like it's like 8%, 9%, 11%, 12% respectively. And then there were 8% for the labs, 8%, 4% weight on the lecture exercise, and also 8% weight on two online quizzes. And I think the rest are for the final exam. The mark breakdown for this course is really fair since there's no like major midterms. It really is just very assignment focused, I think, throughout the semester. Add on, I think this is definitely the number one recommended class for people who are doing a CS minor or a CS major. I think the knowledge about operating systems applies to so many different fields of computer science, whether if you're interested in web programming, you're interested in information security or cloud computing, all the concepts in operating system are so relevant and related to all those different careers. Third class I want to talk about is CSE 373, Algorithm Design and Analysis. In this class, you will explore the divide and conquer algorithms, different greedy algorithms, about dynamic programming, network flows, and approximation algorithms. So if you have been practicing LeetCode in the summer or have worked with LeetCode before, I think a lot of the coding questions are really, really similar to LeetCode. But this class just really required you to prove those LeetCode question in a very strict way. So that's kind of like the fun part of this class. I remember I was working through the dirt assignments and there was this question about network flows. That was really, really interesting. I even get on into a study group discussing the questions for like 2 days straight. Um, but yeah, I think overall, really the assignments of this class is really, really like doable. I think all of the assignments in this class is very, very doable as long as you understand the course slides well enough. You should be able to solve the assignment questions uh, on time. In terms of mark breakdowns, there are 5 quizzes, each quiz worth 3%. And there's also 4 major assignments, each assignment's worth 10%, and a final exam that's worth 45% of your grade. I would say as long as you understand the course material and have attended every tutorial, you should be fine for the assignments and the finals. Definitely, again, if you have questions, reach out to the TAs, and they're always like happy to help you and guide you along the way. The next class I want to talk about is Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. So this class is nothing like I imagined, right? Like I saw AI, I was like, maybe I would learn about AI tools, right? How to make my coding experiences a lot faster, right? But this course is all about algorithms. You're going to learn a lot of search algorithms. 4 major topics you will learn in this course: state search, game tree search, constraint satisfaction problem, and Bayesian network. I remember one of the assignments we work on was using A star search, which is a state search algorithms, right? Calculate how to kind of like find the optimal path from one state to the other states. And how A star search calculates like the cost is by using heuristics and the actual path cost um, that is from one state to the other state. I think just seeing how those search algorithms are actually liked, and you will be writing a lot of Python programs. So in terms of mark breakdowns, there are 4 assignments. Each assignment's worth 10%. There is 4 quizzes, each quiz worth 5%, and also a final exam worth 30% of your course grade. I really liked how the professor, uh, instead of making 2 big midterms, he made 4 mini quizzes throughout the semester. So that helped me to keep up my learning and make myself accountable for this class. So yes, I think that this class is definitely very interesting to learn. I think exploring the different search algorithms, but if you only have limited space in your schedule, I would still say that 347, 369, and also 373 would be probably better options to pick from. Lastly, I want to talk about stats 258. So this class, I feel like I spend the least amount of time on it. I definitely can do better on it. And personally, I find it actually easier than stats 256. So you would be using Studio a little bit. You're not going to write any R code though. They already provide all the R code for you. You just have to run the R code in the R Studio and being able to look at box plots to interpret data. And there were also topics that it was previously up here in Stats 256, like the normal distribution, the limit theorems, and there was also a very big emphasis on confidence level. I saw a lot of confidence level interval questions on the final exam. So compared to all my other courses, this course is pretty light in terms of workload. I feel like I definitely can do better in the final, but remember, I just have one day to kind of go over the last, I know, like 6, 7 weeks of content. So yeah, definitely think I can do better in this class. But I think one thing I learned is also that don't be too tough on yourself. Know that you have your limits and know that you have also other priorities in other classes. But yeah, like I think if you are interested in learning about stats, this or just want to have a course fit in your schedule, this is a good course to take for sure. This semester, I also took 4 CS courses and 1 elective course. So the CS courses I took is CSC 309, CSC 343, CSC 311, and CSC 363. And I'll take PHL 245 as a extra course. So in CSC 309, you will learn about web servers and clients, and the main kind of uh, projects of the course is to build a full stack application with backend using Prisma and Next.js and front end US React.js. And finally, you would deploy the whole application with Docker. In terms of mark breakdowns, there are 10% for weekly exercise, percent for midterms, 20% for the front end projects, and 30% for the back end projects. And then 30% is for the final exam. So I think this is one of the lighter CS courses in general. The main thing is just working through building that full stack application. Really cool. I think my partner and I would build a full stack flight booking application. It was really cool how to see how that whole development process is like, and seeing that our application gets published and deployed at the end was something that's definitely really, really rewarding. My tip though for this class is definitely plan your projects as early as possible, right? Especially for the second part when you're building that front end components. I do feel like a little rush over there. And also make sure that you have a reliable partner You're allowed to work in groups of 2 to 3. So next class I want to talk about is CSC 343, Introduction to Database. It's a very, very doable course because a lot of people already have SQL experience. So you will learn about the SQL language syntaxes, the different kind of joins. You would also learn about views, temporary tables. There's also a few components of the course as well. We learn about normalization, the different forms like the 3NF, BCNF, 2NF forms. We also learn about concepts of dependency preserving, lossless joins. So compared to some of the tougher CS courses I took in first semester, I do feel like this class is on the easier side. Everything seems to be easier to understand, I think, compared to like operating systems. But I feel like the final exam do have questions that focus on the databases theory. So I would say the difficulty level is probably medium. I don't think it's like a low medium for me. In terms of mark breakdown, there are 3 major assignments. Each assignment's worth 9%. There is a midterm that's worth 20% of your grade, and also a weekly PCRS that worth, I believe, 9%. And then the final exam is worth 44%. So the course is a little bit on the exam heavy side, but really I think the all the assignments and exams are really, really doable just as long as you keep up with the learning. You would A lot of people end up doing pretty well in the class. What I want to talk about is CSC 311, which is Introduction to Machine Learning. So this class is a stats class in disguise. You will be doing so much stats, I promise. In this class, we explored the concepts of supervised learning. We explored the different ML techniques, such as the cave nearest neighbor, decision trees, multi-class classification, neural networks, and so on. For the machine learning challenge, you will be giving a set of training data points that you would train your model on, and then you would go through that validation stage where you would be testing your hyperparameters, adjusting and modifying your models to ensure that your model is achieving the highest accuracy as it possible. And then finally, you would your score of your model will be graded based on the hidden test sets, which they would be running on markets. In terms of mark breakdowns, there are 4% and then 14% for the ML challenge. And there are 15% weights each on the test, the two term tests. There's 10% floating weight and 30% final exam. And there's no auto fail in this class, which is really nice. In terms of workload, again, I don't know why. I feel like the second semester courses are just lighter in terms of workload than my first semester. So the workload is super, super fair. Work, you review course slides every single week and do all of the assignment questions. It's not really hard to get like a fair score at the end. But what I would say though, like if you have stats knowledge here is definitely more preferable because you are going to work a lot with distributions. And a lot of those concepts do come from the upper year stats course. Final CS course I'm going to talk about is CSC 363, Introduction to of Computability. And let me just check. It's actually computational complexity and computability. I am going to say this. I don't know what I learned in this class. This is probably the most non-CS class you could ever take, I think, in your university. We basically learn about Turing machine, which is a machine that runs on an infinite taped according to a set of rules. There's this theorem called the Church-Turing thesis that basically says that um, all algorithms are equivalent to a Turing machine. And I don't know, but it's really, really funny. Like we also explored this concepts of like decidability, semi-decidability. One thing I find it really funny is that like so if you have a semi-decidable Turing machine, that means that that Turing machine, if you're giving it a input and the input is part of a specific set, like a rule, you can think of that, right? That machine will halt. But if that input is not part of that specific set, right? It doesn't, you can think of it like, oh, it's not fitting to the rule, then this Turing machine will run forever. But if you're giving this semi-decidable Turing machine or oracle, it would be like you could use this oracle to tell if the semi-decidable machine will hold or not. So yeah, it's like I think that it really just kind of flipped my understanding and like really up level my imagination. Uh, Even though I like might sound kind of like weird or whatever, but I do really enjoy the class. Um, Especially like the assignments. And I think number one tip again is really make sure that you are going to TA hours, you're asking questions to the professors because it is very confusing, it is very difficult, but if you really try to solve questions on your own, taking proactive approach in your learning, I promise you it's not that bad. And I think it's because I've been consistently working so hard on the assignments, even though I do not think I did well on the final, I still end up doing okay at the end. In terms of mark breakdowns, there are four quizzes that's worth 4%, one quiz worth 8%, three assignments that's worth 12%, and a final exam that's worth 40% of your mark. So overall, it's very fair. So there are four kind of tips and lessons that I've learned during my third year. So the very first tip is take a proactive approach in terms of your learning and also working through assignments. When you're struggling for assignments, just knowing that there are a lot of people like you who are also struggling on assignments as well. And what you can do is, talk to other people, like sharing out each other's faults. That being said, I'm not saying sharing answers with other people or asking someone for answers, but just sharing the ideas um, would allow you to approach a problem more effectively and being able to solve it more efficiently. Another proactive approach that you can take is going into office hours, go to TAs, professors for any questions that you have for specific concepts or the assignments. I think that especially for CSC 373 and 363, I think that because of by going to TA's hours and office hours, I was able to get a lot of confirmation on my specific ideas and able to allow me to have that easier time working through the assignments. My second tip is raise your hand in class, being that active participant. Sometimes we feel like the person who answers questions have to be the smartest person, who have to be the person who like knows everything about the class, but in the reality it is not. I think raising your hand is a little challenge for yourself to speak out your ideas in the classes. And especially I think when I feel like I raise my hand, I actually speak in the class, it actually prepares me for the interviews as well. Like because you have to explain your ideas, your thinking process in front of so many people. So yeah, I think that if you are kind of been a shy person in lectures, try raising your hands, like challenge yourself a few times, getting yourself more comfortable. Feel like when students are actively participating in class, the atmosphere of a class just felt so much more, I know, like warming and so much more like uplifting. So my third tip is be brave and be courageous. Us CS students in third year, it's definitely a really hard year for all of us because we all want to land on a internship before the semester kind of ends, right? That is a lot of work on us for sure, right? Like you have to balance between your coursework, you'll also have to go for interviews, applying for jobs. And I think that fear of not being able to land an internship was definitely very tough on all of us. But despite how dreadful you felt, how discouraging you felt in this process, please never lose faith in yourself. Always believe in your capability. Sometimes, right, like I think getting rejection from interviews can be really discouraging. And the reality, I think, behind the interviews, as I was going through this experiences, is that sometimes it's not because you don't have the right skills or the experiences that they're looking for, but it's also very personal. It's also about like a feeling. Like, do they feel like you can fit in the team well? Do they feel like you have that um personality that fits? the company's culture. There are a lot of different factors that a interviewer might pick one candidate over the other.
falling
And a joke about interview that I heard is that interviews are also like dating, right? Like it's like you see this person, right? Like, do you feel like
wide
she or he is the right person or
open,
not, right? Do you feel like we share the same vibe or not?
open,
And that is actually, I think
just
that it's also a really big component
but
when it comes to interview. So even if you get rejections, you don't get calls back, please don't be
falling
discouraged because I want to let you know that there is
with
someone in the world, some interviewer, some person out there who's looking for
and
someone just like you. And
I stand.
sometimes you get rejections. It's
Would
probably
it
that you're lucky because
be
that job
a
probably doesn't fit you,
sin?
right? Like you, even if you get the offer, you might end up not enjoying it, right? And trust me, if you work hard, you have faith
Falling
in yourself, never lose hope.
with
There is one day, like there is this one day, right? Like, and it's going to come soon, I
like
promise,
a
that
river
you would
flow.
land an opportunity, and that
Surely
opportunity is
to the
going to change your
sea,
life, and you will be able to,
islands snow
you
will
know,
go.
grow professionally and
Come
achieve the
spring,
goals that you want in your life.
I'm
So
meant
please,
to
please keep working hard. Don't lose faith in yourself, and have
be
a
my
positive mindset going into this.
hand
Some of my friends who
and
didn't
take
land a
my
interview, who
whole
actually an internship in by the end of the year, still keep applying for jobs, and they end up being able to land it later in the summer, and in the fall as well. So
falling
don't be so nervous. There is always opportunities,
with
but just make sure that check the job
oh
portal,
for
send in
I
application as early as possible, and you will be fine,
can't
like at the end.
help
This is a very long conversation, but
falling
you know, when you work hard, you stand a chance. You still stand a chance in things in life. And but when you stop having faith in yourself, you stop working hard, that's when that chance is going to fade away. So never like condemn yourself, never talk bad about yourself, think bad in your mind. Keep going, and that opportunity is going to be um flying. It's going to be flying in to you. Yep. So my fourth tip is allocate some of your time to spend with your friends. And I think that this year has definitely been a tougher year for me because I'm taking a lot of CS courses. But I still set up some time with friends, like lunchtime. We go to the mall, and I was also invited to like a birthday party, so that's pretty fun. So yeah, I think that being able to make those memories with my friends was kind of important for me. Third year, especially, I think after third year, a lot of people um, who are doing CS are going on PY and doing co-op. So definitely you would have less time to see the friends that you have met, right, during your third year or so definitely, I think devote time in that too. Even if you're on a co-op or whatever, you're not going to see them as often. So sometimes just ask them for, do you want an Instagram call or whatever? Like, being able to kind of just having that conversation back and seeing them again, it's pretty like heartwarming. And I think that will be something that I want to keep going, keep doing as well, even though now we're kind of away from each other. Just want to say that going into your third year with a positive mindset, don't be so stressed on yourself. As long as you have a plan, you know what you're going for, you will be fine at the end. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So, be courageous, be brave, have positive mindset, and I know that the path lies ahead of you will be bright and full of sunshine and rainbow. So yeah, that's all I want to share for today's video. If you like my content and you want to see more videos like this, please comment down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
I'm so glad we made it. Look how far